All right. If you're able to see me, we should be doing a stream that I've never actually been able to do before, where I'm using Google Hangouts as opposed to what I usually use, which is just to go on YouTube itself. But I wanted to bring to your attention a user who had actually stumbled across my content over a year ago, and their response to my video from yesterday, because initially I said I'll edit it and I'll, try to come up with words and talk all fancy and cut out all the parts where I make mistakes, but I decided not to. So without further ado, I'm going to screen share and provide to you the screenshot. So this was on the video I did in reference to Trump with, deciding to not withdraw from Syria, to leave 200 troops there. Um, I was disgruntled. I felt like I'd been lied to, which, is basically what did end up happening. But it was what it was. So when I spoke about it and I was, talking about this particular story, I had a user who came on here after supposedly watching the video, and they said, and I'm reading it to you, it's a problem, no doubt, but it's not merely because evil, slow, methodical agenda. I guess that should have been the same sentence. I'm not sure. That said, your title sounds very TDS. Now, for those of you who don't know, TDS is Trump derangement syndrome. I would categorize it as another one of those words that it's supposed to have a definition, but it gets used so wildly and so rapidly. Its definition, as intended by people who legitimately are concerned someone has it, are effectively when you go after Trump for things that you wouldn't go after other people for. So, for example, if I came on here and I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe Trump is bombing Yemen," but I never mentioned that Obama did, or I wasn't mad at him for being the one who started doing this, I would have Trump derangement syndrome, which, as you can see, I oftentimes critique Obama for starting that conflict. So that shows you I'm not a partisan hack. I have no interest in either party. But let's continue reading the comment. Regardless, I can't dispute the fact that he flopped, whack, can't stand the fake wars. So when I read that sentence, that, because I usually don't respond to these types of comments, that's what enables me to think, maybe I can potentially reason with this person. You might be able to get this kind of a somewhat civil dialogue, maybe, possibly, who knows. Then they say, riddle me this though. You have a better candidate: Clinton, Booker, Harris, AOC, Bernie. Just curious, and I hope you didn't come up with they're all the same. Which, I mean, you can literally, if you looked at my actual channel, you will have seen content endorsing Sanders. So it's not one of those things where people are too lazy to just look at the regular content of the person versus just writing something that, actually is kind of without reason or motive. But let's continue. 150 billion, urban renewal, job growth, record economy, no more NKSK beef. NK and SK are North and South Korea. You'd rather Obama come back on his question. So, reading this comment, right, it's very clear that the person does not regularly watch my content, because I've, oftentimes spoken about my discontent with Obama. But they also, because here's what I hate about a lot of the Trump supporters I see online. When people critique any other politician, right, a lot of times more so Democrats, I generally don't see individuals trying to pretend as if certain things about their records don't exist. So, for example, when I critiqued Harris, I said, hey, look, she only came out in favor of marijuana a few months ago. That's why I think she's a shapeshifter. She doesn't, legitimately mean it. But I still, when I spoke to people who supported her, have them concede, yeah, this is a bad thing. It's obviously for politics. Why would you come out for right before running for president? So with them, they spout off all of this stuff as though to efface what lies beneath it. We have a D plus in infrastructure. That urban renewal thing is not going to refute that. As far as job growth, as I even say in my comment, now we'll get to it. You've got decades long stagnant wages, the paycheck to paycheck thing. So let's go back to it. Like I said, the economy and employment are not indicators of wealth. We've actually spoken and I haven't said this as many times, but The economy is basically one person who's really rich buys something that costs a whole bunch, like a stock buyback, and then it makes it look more, like it looks what it would look like if people actually were regularly and in the right numbers contributing to buying things. People don't because they don't have the money because the wages have been stagnant for 40 years. Riddle. Okay, so my response is your comment solidified that you did not watch the video. I condemned Obama repeatedly for starting most of these wars, the others initiated by Bush, but continue to accuse me of being a Democrat because I know what's coming. Basically, I'm sick of continued austerity that began before Trump entered office. I've been hearing all of this drivel about a great economy while 76% of Americans are paycheck to paycheck and wages have been stagnant for 40 years. I could go on, but you'll defend this by stating A, the most powerful man on the planet, Trump, can't do anything about it. B, the people with crap wages and living conditions are failures as opposed to a system that left most of them that way. Or C, that it's fake news. So one thing to take into account right before we go further into this, you can see the sentence. It says right there, I'm sick of continued austerity that began before Trump entered office. I've spoken to people who I agree with on most things political that I believe have Trump derangement syndrome, and they would never say something like that. They would tell you that 2 years ago everything was great and wonderful. So when I say, "Hey, we had these problems before he got in office," he's just continuing them. Uh, it's meant to suggest I have no bias towards any of these people. When they do the same thing, I critique them the same way. But the response of him is, "LOL, I heard your video. You didn't answer the question. I didn't say they had to be perfect. I asked you who you would rather have." Well, again, my comment is right above his, so you can see I didn't say that any of these people had to be perfect for me to like them. So putting words in my mouth, with just the was that the third sentence? Your two thoughts on my responses to your retort were asinine to say the least. I have this weird feeling that if you ask that person to describe the definition of that word, they'd probably be a little confused. That's just, my opinion. Don't project your own thoughts on me. I don't even play the demo and rep game. Could care less, as could I. But when you come in here and pretend like all of what one didn't transfer over to the other, it's just not true. Jobs don't matter, so welfare is better. Again, second instance of this person putting words in my mouth. No one said that jobs didn't matter, and no one said that welfare was better. I did say that jobs pay their workers crappy expenses, or rather, salaries, because they do. It's it's starvation wages. When the minimum wage is $7, and we've got almost 4/5 of the country living paycheck to paycheck, whether they're a Democrat or Republican, Independent, Green Party, whatever, it's a failed system. But again, let's continue. So that's two instances, right, of this person putting words in my mouth, where they say that I said the candidate had to be perfect, or and also me claiming that jobs don't matter or that welfare is better. What's your idea on how we solve that? Socialism, free cell phones, inflation, jobs. Jobs are very important. Again, no one said they weren't. I don't knock low-paid labor, which is not cheap at all compared to the rest of the world. So you guys can basically work for $1, and he's cool with it. That makes sense. Stepping stones. Very few people are actual victims in America, so miss me with the bleeding heart. They guys, do you realize how this comment is him accusing me of projecting myself onto him when he's literally projecting himself onto me? I didn't say people were victims. I didn't say we needed free cell phones. I didn't say candidates had to be perfect. I didn't say jobs didn't matter or that welfare was better. So again, all of this stuff I did not say. I am being accused of stating in some, and you're looking at it. My comment is right above his. But all of this stuff I didn't say I'm being accused of. Uh, he admits to being African. We do just fine here for a reason. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I guess he's like this. He's a point. And I realize he's anointed himself the spokesman for Africans, so he can confirm that they are all doing wonderfully here. They're apparently within that 20% of Americans that aren't living paycheck to paycheck. I'll leave it at that. Stop projecting your experiences with others. You deaf have TDS. Your title alone shows you're a zombie. 'Tis what it is. So I'm supposed to believe this person watched the video as they keep referring back to the title. You see, my problem is a lot of times when I do videos, I try to make them of a certain length and not really, make it to where people can't just come and watch a little bit and then go away, or, make it to where I think it's reasonably long enough for whatever the topic was. And when I see the president of the United States effectively say, "Oh, you thought I was going to pull troops out of Syria? Oh, no, I was just playing with you," that bothered me. And I felt the need to speak about it for multiple minutes. And in that tangent or rant of mine, I mentioned that these wars were started by his predecessors, that these conflicts began prior to him entering office. And so when I try to be objectionable about this stuff, right? But I don't totally kiss the behind of everybody's favorite orange. These people get upset because, see, one thing I realized about a lot of Trump supporters is that when you are someone who admits to not being a Republican or a fan of his, but you give him credit for something, they'll like your comment, they'll say you're smart, they'll say you're reasonable, they'll say you're fair. But the moment you express any kind of distaste with a policy of his, right? Oh, here it comes. Here comes the assailing, here comes the character assassination, the windows into your soul. It's incredible. I mean, to give you the context, I was on Twitter and I said, "Oh, I'm so glad Trump is pulling out of Syria." This is back when he announced it in December. And one of his supporters had liked my comment. And I think there was another instance where I had said, he won the election because he won the states. I don't believe Russia changed the votes, and they liked my comment. But when I say, "Hey, look, he is not addressing this thing. This is my objectionable stance as a result of what I see from him or what I have seen from his tenure, and these things that are not being spoken about nor discussed." And I've seen his supporters whenever you give the slightest itty bitty amount of pushback, they go insane. I mean, look at this. This person wrote me 2 paragraphs just to say I don't agree with you. And not even because I think I've mentioned before, there was a stream I did where it was after we had one of those mass shootings last year. I'm forgetting which one it was, but during one of those mass shootings, a user came into my stream and they said, "Hey, look, I'm a gun rights supporter. This is my position, right?" And I said, "Hey, look, okay, fine. You don't support gun control, but do you at least support the idea of arming, of having more security in public venues like libraries and public schools or just schools in general?" And they thought that was a reasonable kind of compromise. My point is, that's the kind of person who is so rare when it comes to these individuals who disagree, where they're not going to come in here and gas you up with, "Oh my God, wonderful renewal. No more beef between two countries." Like, well, guess what, douchebag? We're still bombing 7. It's like, why do you think I would critique someone, right, for being involved in peaceful relations with 2 countries, with North Korea, South Korea? Would you like to know why? Would you like to guess? Would you like to say, "Hey, can you please elaborate what would cause you to be upset with that politician for not for doing that?" Because it's not consistent. I want all of these conflicts that started before Trump entered office to be over. I think they are a waste of money and a waste of time. I think when you spend 18 years in one country, Afghanistan, and you still can't win, your strategist and the people who told you to stay there year after year are certified, proven failures. It's just that simple. But let me turn this screenshot off and get back to being in front of the camera. So you get my point that when you watch people like that basically tell you, "Hey, everything's wonderful, everything's great, but I'm going to also be pissed off because you don't agree." Well, if everything's wonderful and everything's great, why even vindicate me with your response? Like I said, I very rarely, if ever, leave comments on YouTube anymore. And if I do, it's not on the content of someone that I know disagrees with me. See, this is what I could never get about people. There's a video called "The Worst of Bernie" or whatever the hell. I watched a little bit of it. I walked away. I didn't leave a comment to the creator going, "How could you put this up here? He's the only one fighting for." Blah, blah, blah. No, because I know in judging my own ineffectiveness, I'm not going to get that person to change their mind. I might annoy them to where they get rid of me off their channel, but I'm not going to get them to say, "Oh my God, I need to reverse course. I need to change my position. I need to, this commentator in my description box or in my comment section has enlightened me." I mean, his fans are so like they remind me of, they're like the person who can watch a movie and they'll say, "Oh, this movie was great," and they'll point to something that is objectionably horrible. So, for example, if I watch a film and it has no actual consistent plot, and it starts off with, "Oh, we have to go do this one thing," and then, "Oh, we have to go do something else," and then the conclusion is something about a totally unrelated thing. That would objectionably be a bad film. But these people would say, "Oh no, it's good because it's surprising." No, it's crappy. But again, this is what I'm talking about. Objectionably, you can't look at 76% of people, right, from paycheck to paycheck in the U.S. and say that was all Obama or that was all Trump or everybody is lazy. Everybody popped out children that they weren't ready to take care of. But they will do that. And these are the same pricks who will try to lie to you and me and say, "Oh, we care about America. That's why we don't want the evil illegal immigrants to come over." I'm like, well, you're the same douchebags who let your own American soldiers die in conflicts that have nothing to do with them. These are the same pricks will tell you, "I want to keep the evil illegal immigrants and terrorists out so I can protect Americans. President Trump's trying to protect us." Are the same ones who will have their mouths shut, closed, and tight lit while he lets them go over the seas like the pricks before him and die in conflicts that they had nothing to do with. And then when you push back and you say, "Hey, look, don't these two positions not have anything to do with each other?" "Oh, yeah, Trump derangement syndrome." Bleh. It's like, no, it's not my fault. You're intellectually lazy. It's not my fault. I look at these pricks, and I don't care what party they're from, and say they are crap. They are trash. I'll give you an example of actual Trump derangement syndrome. There was a person I talked to, and they told me they think any of the Democratic nominees can defeat Trump in the general election, or any of the Democratic candidates, right? I personally think the only two that have a chance or only three rather, are Sanders, Warren, and Gabbard. And that's just because with Warren, she has possibly the same thing as Bernie, where you get the base to come out a lot more than they usually would. And with Gabbard, I've seen Republicans compliment her when she shows up on Fox News and says, "Hey, look, we're in this conflict for no reason." She, I think she can get legitimate people to go, "Hey, look, she actually has a platform of ending wars and not being involved in these conflicts," and just a wide spectrum of stuff as to why I would think that way. My bottom line is that if I had derangement syndrome, I would say, "Oh yeah, the Democrats can run anybody and they'll be able to beat Trump." No, I don't believe that, because I'm not stupid. I'm not dumb enough to think that the people who voted for him the first time aren't going to come right back and, not be aware or either not care about the things I've spoken about being problems since then that he hasn't addressed. And so because I know that those people aren't going to change their mind to where if they either don't vote or if they do vote, it's going to be for him again, I try to tell new people, "Hey, look, show up. If you think he's so horrible, go to the ballot box and, actually do this." I don't say, "Oh, yeah, any Democrat can do this. It's a victory." No, I'm not. Again, that's actual derangement syndrome. And these people, like you talk to them, right? I go, "Okay, look, I'm gonna have a level. I'm gonna say, I don't agree with, what Trump has done here, because I wanted these to change. I wanted us to go after the banks. I wanted us to stop bombing 7 countries. I wanted us to stop spying on Americans with the Patriot Act. I wanted him to get rid of the Espionage Act that Obama signed that he used to jail journalists 6 times." But again, it stays. And when you bring up actual policies, when you say, "Look, I don't like any of these pricks. I think they're all crappy. And you again, it's not, you know, automatically because you're a politician you suck, because I just gave you three that I actually like. They reject it. They go, oh no, Obama and Trump have nothing in common. You're crazy. Bleh. Like, no, idiot. What is this? The guilt of what do you mean by that, Jordan? I'm not sure what you're talking about. You're guilty of TDS or what? Whatever that guy was saying. Not you as the guy, the person that commented on the stuff that I showed earlier. My point is, whenever you watch these events go by and just actively try to participate in it, and you see people who try to demean you for going out and attempting to learn about it or objectionably look at it. See, me going and saying I don't like that Trump is doing whatever the hell is way better than me saying I'm upset because Trump curses. I'm upset because whatever. Just, oh, he cheated on his wives. Who cares? I don't. Let me tell you something. If Trump signed into law single payer or put in free college or raised wages, to something that was actually livable, I wouldn't care if he slept with the entire city of New York, because it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. Jesus Christ. Like, what do I have to do to get through these people's heads? And I said to them, look, I understand you're not going to change your position. So why do you come here? This guy, think about how much like you must be turned on by the negative stuff. This guy sees the title of this video, right? And he kept referring back to it. So this was a priority of his in his comment. He sees the title of the video, which is lying orange clown. It's got the emoji, stays in Syria, and then hashtag Trump lies. And he calls himself someone who actually thinks that this prick isn't half bad. Now, I don't, I've already stated why I believe he's god awful, but not so god awful that he's any, he's only marginally worse than Obama or and still nowhere near as bad as George W. But again, these are individuals who, when they're presented with something they don't like, they feel this weird kind of psychological push to go and experience it, because like I told you, with me, when I see stuff that has a title that I think kind of is suggestive of, okay, I'm not gonna like this is not going to be something I'm receptive to, I avoid it like the plague. I get away from it. I say, look, there's no reason for me to be invested in trying to learn about that or read up on this, when the person who's saying it already is projecting a position that is probably going to piss me off due to my critical thinking skills, due to the fact that people can say things to me and it has no effect, because I've sat here by myself and read this stuff and come to the the conclusions that I have. That's why when I did my response to Trump's State of the Union last year, and I had all of these short-sighted fools go on my page and downvote the thing and go, he's so great, he's so great. All they did was solidify to me that they're dumb, and that they're sucking the nipple of their overlord, but it didn't actually change my position. So it's the exact same thing. And I got accused of being a Democrat in that. Yeah, everybody that doesn't like Trump is a Democrat. Every single person. When I criticize them and tell you how much I hate Pelosi's fossilized hag self, or talk about how ineffective Schumer is, or just any of these different Democrats, I'm just doing that for show. It's a brilliant idea. I made all those videos talking about my discontent with that party just to mess with you, just to try to pretend as if I wasn't one of their supporters. Yes, you've caught me. How brilliant! I mean, Americans are so evil. Like, not even like, forget the thing in Yemen, right? Which we already know they don't care about bombing children in another country. We get that, but you look at what they've done, right, when it comes to the homeless. And they oftentimes deride homeless people as these lazy individuals who just, spend, whatever. But when you look at the percentage of those that are veterans, people that supposedly, as I think most people would say, served honorably, right? And they come back here and they get treated like trash, they have no problem with it. I mean, like, what would it take for any of them to think for themselves? I just don't get it. Because, like I said, I watch MSNBC and CNN and Fox and all these other networks, and they're all pushing agendas. Fox is trying to tell you everything Trump does is great. CNN is trying to tell you that everything Trump does is horrible, except when it's actually something good, like getting out of a war. Then they want to, uh, 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 go and actually, I take that back. They're consistent even on that because they're bought up by defense contractors. So my point is, all of these supposed Trump hating platforms, I despise as well for different reasons. And because I'm not someone who's just going to say, well, I didn't like you before because you said something nasty about Trump. Oh, yeah, we're buddy buddy now. We're friends. Yeah, you're my new favorite TV anchor. Yeah, we're that. Yeah, they really believe that anyone who critiques or otherwise says something about Trump automatically a good guy. High five. That's why the same FBI, right? The one that sat there and stalked Martin Luther King for 5 years, for a half decade up until he got shot, now is lionized as this great institution trying to save democracy against President Trump's interference in the last presidential election. Like, are you guys retarded? This is the same group that along with the CIA, which, as I mentioned in my previous video, overthrew the Iranian government when they wanted to get their oil and the leader wouldn't do what they wanted to, is now getting lionized as heroes because they're doing things that Trump doesn't want. That's Trump derangement syndrome. Not saying you want to get out of a war. God, they're just so dumb. I'm surrounded by fools. Amazing. And I guess, I accept that I have some people in the audience, right, who will say that they like Trump or they like something he's done. And look, like I said before, admitting that someone's done something good here or good there is whatever. But we're talking about a continuation of the same crap from 2 years ago. And these pricks blindly ignore it so they can just pedal along this narrative that there's been some drastic transformation, that everything is suddenly brand new and wonderful, and all of this stuff is great. I had a degenerate go in here when I did the stream about how Trump is the new Herbert Hoover, and he was like, oh my God, look at how great the economy is. I'm like, dude, 4/5 of the people who live here can barely afford their houses. Almost 50% of the homeless work, and they still don't have anywhere to live. Oh my God, how are you this dumb? Jesus Christ. I swear. What would it take to get them to look at something factually? I'm glad I got into this stuff as young as I did when I was in ninth grade, or rather 10th grade, excuse me, because at that point I was someone who hadn't closely followed this stuff through like 2 or 3 different presidents, so I didn't get to see a lot of the recurring patterns, right? And you could sell to me back then that Obama was different from Bush. I would say, oh yeah, he's definitely an improvement. It's like, guys, you get a right-wing healthcare plan, which again is only good because what we had before was so horrible. So I hate incrementalism. They pretend like, I mean, these are the kind of people who would say, oh, you're in an abusive relationship where the person slaps and kicks you. Oh, get in this abusive relationship with this other guy. But except this time he won't kick you, he'll just slap you around, just back and forth. Like, that's what this is. They want you to sit here and just put up with whatever is propped up to you by the elites at the DNC. But again, when I was coming up with this stuff and actually initially being first involved, I was told about the different wars we were in, and I said, "Oh, there's got to be a reason for this stuff. There has to be, Obama knows best, right? Big brother government knows best." But then I saw defense contractors, their funding of him, and other people who were supporting of these policies, and I realized it's not about actually believing in something. Trump supporters don't actually believe homeless people are so evil and terrible. When you bring them up, right? Bringing them up is bad because it goes against their narrative that things have magically improved across the board. So they need in their head to know that these people, these individuals, right? That there's something wrong with them that caused them to be in this, because they can distract away from the people who should be in charge. Because again, the most powerful man, if he can't do it, who else can? It's like if I said, okay, well, we got this new supervillain that Superman can't beat. Well, then who can? The most powerful man can't do anything about this. It's them. They don't actually have ill will toward these homes. They're hypocrites because they tell you how much they care about Americans, and then when Americans are poor, whether because they're homeless from just going through this crappy stagnant wage system, or from going to some conflict where they almost died and then getting treated like trash by the same country that wants you to be proud of it and go and die for it if it drafts you. They found out that it wasn't that way. But these people that are his supporters, they won't give them the benefit of the doubt because it would mean not sucking the nipple of the orange man. So they're always going to find a way to just let anything go. No matter what I say, no matter what anyone that I am a supporter of says. And I'm just glad I got into this stuff when I did, when I was still at a point where I was impressionable, and when I don't know, because I try to say I'm not smarter than any of these people. If they just sit here and stop trying to do this partisan crap where they go one party's good, the other one isn't, and they look objectionably at these politicians, they'll see it. They'll realize it. And that's what I did. That's why I don't like either party. That's why for all the crap that people write to me on this computer screen, I still have the exact same position. My view has been vindicated by virtue of what has happened. I had people used to tell me, "Why are you crapping all over the Democrats? The Republicans are trying to, do all this evil stuff." And then let's see what happens. You have Democrats vote for both of Trump's Supreme Court nominations, who all these Democratic Party supporters will tell you want to reverse Roe versus Wade. You have Democrats vote to confirm Trump's Attorney General, when all these Democrats want to tell you how much they care about minorities getting incarcerated over nonviolent crimes, when that's literally exactly what he was known for. So it just like, why would I take any of you seriously on either side? You guys are the same. You're two halves of the same coin, the same non-critical thinking, party bootlicking, take whatever comes your way coin. And that's a shame. And that's why the US is going to hell.